Good afternoon. Today I'll be discussing a topic that affects millions of Californians every single year. California wildfires continue to devastate communities, destroy ecosystems, and take countless lives every single year. The government's negligence is one of the main factors behind wildfires, and their immediate action is required to prevent wildfires from happening in the first place, as well as treating their causes when they do occur. In this speech, I will discuss the problem of wildfires, I will discuss the underlying causes behind wildfires, and I will discuss possible solutions that can be implemented in order to prevent wildfires from happening in the first place, as well as mitigating their effects when they do occur. Now, first, let's examine the problem of California wildfires. UCLA published on July 12, 2023, quote, "We are getting hotter, drier air that makes fires easier to start. It makes the fuel much drier and the fire spreads faster. They're more intense and they're more difficult to fight." Now, this article discusses how recently wildfires have been much more intense when they do occur. The cause of this will be discussed later in the speech, but we can take from this article that recently fires have been occurring much more intensely and they are much harder to combat when they do occur. UCLA also published on July 10th, 2020, quote, "The number of days with high fire risk in California has doubled since the early 1980s. If carbon emissions aren't curbed, wildfires will continue to increase in frequency and intensity." Now, this article shows that since the 1980s, the number of days per year in which wildfires can occur or do occur has doubled. This means that effectively the wildfires that have been occurring, the frequency of wildfires since the 1980s has doubled. Now, let's examine the causes behind these two problems. The increased severity and frequency of wildfires. UCLA published on December 13th, 2021, quote, 68% of the increase in vapor pressure deficit across the western U.S. between 1979 and 2020 was likely due to human-caused global warming. So, this proves that human activity has led to an increase in vapor pressure deficit across the western United States, which, as discussed previously in our previous evidence, that this is directly linked to the increased frequency and severity of California wildfires. Scientific American published on October 29th, 2020, quote, "More than half of the acres burned each year in the western United States can be attributed to climate change." So, this tells us that climate change is directly responsible for half of all wildfires that are occurring in California. One out of every 2 acres that are burned from wildfires every single year is directly caused by climate change, which is directly caused by human activity. So, what human activities can we implement in order to decrease and prevent climate change, to prevent climate change from happening in the first place, decrease the frequency and severity of wildfires, and additionally, what can we do to treat the effects of wildfires when they do occur? So, the first solution is legal and policy reforms. Time published on August 26, 2021, quote, "There is a bias in the law over the last 100 years toward creating lots of liability for people who try to create fires on their lands and no liability for people who keep their land as a tinderbox." So this article discusses how, while the government does punish those who intentionally start fires, there's no liability for those who are basically negligent and let their land develop to a state that is very prone to wildfires. So they can implement more legal reforms in order to punish those who are basically complacent with wildfires every single year. And additionally, the Public Policy Institute of California published on July 8th, 2024, retreat is just one tool in a larger toolbox of possible adaptations. So managed retreat is the concept of combining proactive strategies like fuel reduction and land repurposing in order to move communities away from lands that are very prone to wildfires. So this can greatly reduce the effects of wildfires by moving people away from affected areas. They will not be affected as much by wildfires if they do occur. So government negligence is one of the main driving factors behind wildfires. The continued inaction in terms of policy making and reforms basically highlights their complicity in California wildfires, as they are doing nothing to prevent wildfires, and they're not doing enough to help the people that are affected by them. So in order for Californians to be protected from wildfires and their effects, the government must act immediately, implementing reforms and legislation in order to prevent them and treat their causes. Thank you.